Bro, y'all can't tell. You're on the handlebars of my bike. I don't know what kind of angle this gets. It might just be like a chest shot. Yeah. This is POV for STP. I like barely reach these pedals. I might be too short for this bike. That's why you don't lie about your height. Short kings. Let's get it. I'm tapping in the bike. Hey, we root. What's good, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Alan, and today we're going to be talking about STP. That was the 210-mile bike race that I did, sponsored by Kaiser Permanente, or however you say that long word. And honestly, it was a vibe. I'd never ridden that far before. Like, I'd never ridden probably 50 miles before this race. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It's an extremely hilly route, literally a 2-day ride. I'd never ridden a bike for like 2 days straight, camped halfway. It was the time. So going through this video, I'm gonna be telling y'all like about a lot of stuff that I brought, you know, my mindset, my training, what that looked like at the time. So if you're thinking about getting into it for your first time, here's a Facebook channel. Those people will help you out. They helped me out a lot. And you'll have this video. There's also other videos on the subject. Without further ado, let's get it started. Cooked. Zoom in. Get his up. Yeah. Cooked. We ain't even started yet. We ain't even left the city. Where the party at? Where the Barbies at? We ain't gonna make it. We ain't gonna make it, y'all. So to start off, whenever we got there probably, I think the earliest rider started riding out at like 5 a.m. We probably, or 5 or 6 a.m. We probably got there at like 7, let's say 6:50-ish. The cutoff was at 7. Like, they were letting no more riders go because at that point in the day, you're so late that you're not gonna make it anywhere in time. So they had like a cutoff at the starting line. We had to get things like bibs, stickers, decals. Our bikes, for instance, we rented them because my bike was, one, too old to make the 200 and plus mile journey, and two, it was just one way more expensive to, you know, fly my bike there, use it, and then fly it back than it was just to rent the bike for a couple of days for the race. Which, shout out Al's Bicycles, he made sure that me and my friend were straight. But we had to, one, we hadn't ridden or like practiced on these bikes like we did for the other ones, and two, we broke these bikes down to put them in our cars, and we're showing up late. Everyone's kind of rushing, you know, they're letting them go in waves as we like go along this route. I hadn't tested the GPS routing app, which tells you like the route you're supposed to go to. I hadn't tested my bike. I hadn't tested necessarily anything. So we had to like put the bibs together, put them on ourselves, put the stickers on our hats. It was a bit of a hectic, chaotic scene, but the people were very helpful. We should have more experience going in, but we didn't. Irregardless, we got to the starting line. It was like one of the last lines out, and we started riding. What's up with y'all? We really doing this? We got at least 100 more miles. I don't know. I think we're going to the left. Nope, this is always going to the left. Let me check this navigation app. Come on, Face ID. Yeah, we're on the right path. We're on the warp. I don't know where Jaden went. I was following these riders that were going pretty fast, and he was really intent on keeping the same pace, and I just haven't seen him since. So, rip. We are on a bit of a scenic route. It's hard to paint a good enough picture. I'm trying to decide when to switch this from rear-facing camera to front-facing. This is a nice place. Mountains, parks, waters, rivers. No crazy elevation gain yet. A couple of hills. But I've trained in hills, so it ain't that bad. It ain't that cooked. And then the fact that you don't know nothing about the bike navigation, you're probably waiting on them. Who knows how long that'll take, though. Definitely going at slower than normal pace, in hopes that he'll catch up. I might use an opportunity to take a break. I'm not tired, but we've got a lot of miles ahead of us. I don't even think we're 10 miles in yet. We'll check back in, see what I decide to do. Peace out. Still waiting on Jaden. He's catching up though. Thought I saw him back there. Yeah, he's back there with the tent hanging off his bike. Shutter speed is out of there. I just said it. There he is. The biker. Tortoise bike. So yeah, we get started in right off rip. Jaden's like slow as all get out. Mind you, I understand pacing yourself is a 100+ mile race, like obviously. But I had trained with the relative speed because of like the level of training I was doing. I was also training for a marathon simultaneously. I was also lifting simultaneously. So like I didn't have all day to leisurely take my time to clock in these miles. So I literally would clock, let's say max 20 miles a day on my bike training. And then I'd hang up my bike and I'd go run or I'd go lift or whichever combination of the both. And the issue with that was like, I trained on hills and I trained in distance, but I trained it relatively quickly because I knew how to keep myself endured, obviously, for running an entire marathon. And I knew how to have like pacing myself and fueling myself as I go, like reading my body. I had all of that training already. I don't know what Jaden's training looked like, but I just know like that was what I was kind of expecting. So there would be like these lines of people that would like pass us, and like the first couple of people they pass us, I'm fine, I'm cooling. But like after, 20, 30, 40 people pass us, I'm like, okay, now I'm getting sick of getting passed when I know I can keep up with them. So the purpose of this race myself was to push my limits and see how far I could go. So I would normally rush ahead to like the next stop or the next turn, then I'd let Jaden catch up. And we kind of repeated that for most of the race that we were together. There were spray paint signs on the ground, which you kind of had to learn to like interpret, like left turn, right turn, straight. And after coordinating them with the app, I was able to figure out what most of them meant. Jaden, so I told him about the drop bags. I heard about the drop bags both in the Facebook group and while signing up on the website. And I kind of wanted to investigate and find out what that was. Jaden didn't necessarily care about the drop bag. I was like, maybe we should do this. He was like, no, we'll just carry everything that we need. So everyone else is traveling as light as and efficient as possible. They've got like the fuel that they need and their tents, extra clothes, extra chargers, all that stuff. They put in a drop bag at the halfway point that they're gonna shack up for the night. Meanwhile, me and Jaden had at least 100-pound bikes. Like our bikes were pretty big. Like I was messing around with some other people's bikes later on in the race, and like their bikes were, light enough you could lift them with a finger or two. Our bikes had to be at least, I'm not gonna say 100 pounds, but maybe 70. They were heavy, and you could like hear the difference in like the way that we were riding. You could hear it in like the way that like our tires were straining, and like, yeah, we had a lot of weight on ourselves. Jaden had the tent. I had like just a lot of stuff, like my camera gear. And the rig that I had was like this Magic Arm from, gosh, I forget the brand. But I literally just got it and I clamped 2 clamps onto it and I looped them through this case that was attached to my Canon M50. And we'll get to that later, but I could either have it facing toward me right side up, or I could rotate it 180 degrees backwards and it would be shooting upside down, but I would get essentially what was in front of me. And I just flipped the footage in post if you're wondering what my setup looks like. I might show you guys later, but that's kind of how we're doing it. And we're at the first rest stop, things are closing down. So like, they're like, oh, there was Gatorade, there was this, there was that, but they packed it up because they're going to the next rest stop. Because these rest stops, much of like rest stops at a marathon, close down at a certain time. They don't stay open all day because like it costs resources and time and blah, blah, blah. So the pressure's kind of on you. It's not a race, there's no prize for first place, but the pressure is kind of on you to get to a certain point at a certain time, because you can see on the app, like, this rest stop will close at this time, and if you're not there, you're gonna get there, it's gonna be empty. So imagine pedaling 30, 40, 50 miles, and you get there and there's nothing but like empty tables. So that instilled a sense of urgency in me where I was like, I think I'm gonna wanna pick up the pace a bit, and that'll come into play as we continue this race. Back to the clips. Definitely close to last place. Jaden was talking about he want to win it. Jaden's cooked. Gonna make a left-hand turn up here. A lot of these cars are good. So at the beginning of the clip, and you're gonna have to excuse my nasaliness a little bit. I am sick. Of course I got sick. Exhibit A. Whatever the heck is going around, I somehow have caught it and now I'm trapped in the house. So, yes, this is what Alan looks like when he rolls out of bed and turns on the camera. Irregardless, you saw those pink symbols on the ground. In that last clip, you saw me kind of coming over a bridge, and I realized one of two things. One, I hadn't really seen that many people yet. I was like, the Facebook group is packed. I know that there's a certain amount of runners because like there's bib numbers. I think I had like 409 something or 3 something. There were like at least 4,000 people there. 4,000? That doesn't sound right. There was at least 1,000 people. There were a lot of people there. I'll double check. And the pink symbol on the ground, obviously that one was indicating a left turn at that stoplight that I was just at. And realizing that like we were towards the back, I was like, I definitely don't want to be last, and I also want to be like in a group in case something goes wrong. Cause like when I was stopping, my bike was taller because the guy asked me my height on the phone. I asked to rent the bike. I'd never seen this bike in person. My bike was taller than the one I trained with at home because obviously they're supposed to have certain proportions based on how tall you are. Hence the reason why like grown adults don't use kiddie bikes and vice versa. I should have known that. I didn't even think about that. But it was a lot harder to like mount and dismount my bike later on in the race because I was so fatigued. And we were doing like this kind of period of like stop and go. It's like I rush ahead, I'm waiting on Jaden at like a significant landmark or a turn or something. He catches up and then we start pedaling and he strides back, and it was kind of a period of that until one time I was waiting on Jaden and this happened.
Shout out STP Rider Support for saving me from the flat.
Car 6, that's 3243, but it's uncountable.
Yeah, I don't see anything in there. Oh, is it the back? It's the stem?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it's just the...
Yeah, so you didn't run over anything. It's just the stem on the...
That happens. Okay.
Valve stem on the
Cool.
thing.
Yeah, I thought it was weird because I had pulled over to wait for him to catch up, and then it would just like, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, it's not punctured. It's somewhere around here. It's bleeding out. So, easy enough.
So yeah, I ended up getting a flat tire, and like I don't even think we were 20 miles into the race at that point. It's kind of daunting. It was kind of like, whoa, what did I get myself into? Because I remember they were talking about we prefer you to have your own equipment for your own bike and blah blah blah. I'm like, fam, this is a rental bike and I've never even changed a bike tire. So we called SCP Riders Support, and after a while of waiting, I think we got passed by some other riders and they were like, you should call them again. So I'm pretty sure we called them again, and they did end up coming that time, and or I think we called to like get an update, and one of the guys we couldn't really understand. Anyway, Rider Support shows up, they changed the tire, they changed our inner tubing, and like they were like, what size of bike tire do you have? And I was like, I have no idea. Like I'd never ridden this bike before. I just knew the tires were big AF. So pulled up, and luckily I had inner tubing for it, and as you can see, it's not like I rolled over something or punctured it. I literally pulled over and stopped to wait in like this weird like cul-de-sac-y, like on one part it looked like a 2-lane freeway, but on the other half it was like where you can just tuck into houses. And as like I'm waiting for Jaden to catch up to me, all the air just lets out of my tire. I'm not even on the bike at this point, and I was like, wow, well that really sucks. Luckily they came, they got me changed, no riff-raps, complaints about it. I know people in the Facebook group kind of made it look ominous about like asking for help and not having your own equipment. It seems fine. And we were back rolling. So shout out SCP Rider Support, and yeah, on to the race it was. So at this point in the race, I'm trying to stay with you, but the heat's picking up, man. And like, not only do I like want the cold supplies because on my bike, I packed like a certain amount of supplies. I think I had 2 water bottles and like an emergency like water slash Gatorade bottle. And the aid stations always had water and Gatorade. You could fill up your water bottle with water. You could fill it up with Gatorade. It made no difference. I had a bunch of energy gels and chews and goos that you can people normally have for a marathon. Packed them for the bike race. They serve just the same. And like tons of snacks. I remember I had like a big family size bag of Cheez-Its, and Lord praise the Cheez-Its this entire race. We'll get to that. I cannot describe the savior the Cheez-Its were. Anyway, at this point in time, when I turn around and I look at Jaden on the bike, I'm like, bro, it's heating up. It's getting hot. I'm not trying to be out here all day. The faster we pedal, the faster we get done. In marathon training and running, I always think to myself, the faster I run, the faster I get done. It's not really a smart strategy, but it works for me. And at this point, I decided I'm starting to decide. I'm like, I think I gotta get out of here. I think I've got to leave him behind for my sake, for the sake of like not coming across another empty rest stop, because that's just depressing. Let's be honest. Okay, so around this time, I officially decided to leave Jaden. I do remember like this intersection and stuff like that. And I had to say, like, it was a great decision for myself. You gotta do what you gotta do. I was looking at those rest stop cutoff times and I was like, bro, we're simply not gonna make it, especially not at this pace. And so I don't know if I even communicated with them or if I just decided to like go subconsciously, but I was gone. And unfortunately, around 30 miles in, there's something that everyone calls the Big Hill. This year it was Pally Up. I don't know if it stays the same hill every year because it's my first time. But I get there and like the spray paint signs on the ground become less professional and more like, you know, like those signs that you see whenever you're about to go down like a really scary ride, like point of no return, turn back now, like signs like that. They're like, the Big Hill, smiley face. You can do it, smiley face. And I'm like, okay, like, where's the direction? Like, left, right, straight. And they're like, almost there. And I'm like, what the did I get myself into? Come around. I remember we went over like this tiny bridge. And I started going up this hill. And I'm like, fine. I don't even think I looked that far ahead. But then I turned right. And it's just like, and my God, this hill, nothing short of a mountain. And pedaling my extremely heavy bike in the heat of everything, just, I don't even know what I'm trying to describe. You just watch the video.
There you go. Slow and steady. Let's go. What?
So, like I said, man, I've trained in hills before. This shouldn't have been anything relatively new. But I will say this. Well, first off, I met that guy on the Big Hill, and he was talking about how his friend passed away, apparently in that exact same spot, on a bike. I don't know if that was during an STP event or not, or anything about that, but that's what that guy was talking about. We kind of encouraged each other a little bit of the ways up the hill. But just talking about hills in general during this race, because of my intense hill training where like every 2 miles I would do like 2 really big hills, I become pretty conditioned. So I would pass people on the uphill, but I wasn't super confident on my bike, especially with having all that extra weight and like struggling with the balancing issues of just having like a newer bike. So people would pass me on the downhill. They'd be so comfortable just flying past at highway speeds. I think some of my highest speeds clocks were like 60 miles an hour on a bike. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it was 50. I don't know. I could check the app and tell you. It doesn't matter. We were going fast AF, bro. I'm going like my max comfortable speed and people are just, So, at this point, like I said, the heat had picked up and this hill was atrocious. This hill was notorious for having false summits. I remember them talking about it in the Facebook group chat. But, like, I didn't really know. So, like, you go up to one point and I'm like, I'm sure there's more, and of course there was more. And you go up to another point, I'm like, okay, I'm sure there's more, and of course there was more. And then you go to another point and then there would still be more, and I was like, bro, this hill had to be like at least a quarter mile long. And I remember I stopped about halfway up to like literally take a break and hydrate, and I realized something on this hill and on the earlier hill as well. My bike was so heavy, especially in the back with all of the stuff I was carrying, that like if I were to pedal up a steep incline and like really like lock in and not focus on my balancing, my front wheel would lift up and I had like the potential of falling back down the mountain, or like trying to stop on the side of the mountain. It was hard to like balance this heavy bike with my body weight while like reaching to get like my water bottles, etc. So keep that in mind if you are expecting to do STP. These are things that you need to like think about. Like, what is my bike gonna be like bogged down? What is gonna be like riding up the hills and hydrating and fueling and stuff like that? I'm not a professional. This is just my personal experience. Let's watch this clip. See how long it took me to get up this hill. So yes.
Car accident, man.
So he said in the car accident. I don't know if he was on a bike.
I'm sorry about that.
But I remember the feeling, bro. Like, I was sweating all over, but my mouth was dry, and I was like, this sucks.
Let's get it. How you doing?
By this time, of course, like I've trained, so I know how to like switch gears and stuff on the bike, and that's essentially what I was doing. Like, I switched into like the best possible gear. I'm sure someone knows like the scientific calculation for like gear switching, but like I did what works and what I was able to keep up with.
I think this hill has false summits. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Ooh. Oh my God. Big hill.
It doesn't look very steep if you have the camera, but up here, I'm like, I know this is a false summit. Like, it just has to be because of however many I had previously. But there's a left turn, and you go up some more, and then there's a right turn, and you go up some more. And I think that's it for the hill.
Easy does it.
Dude, this was like the hardest, and like as I was going up this, I was like, I might not make it. I simply might not be able to make this entire race if this is what it's going to be like. But to new riders, don't be discouraged. The big hill is a one-off. There will not be several big hills, because if there were 3 or 4 of these, looking back, I'm like, I could have made it, but when I was in it, I was like, I ain't gonna make it, let's be honest. There I am turning myself up. You gotta do what you gotta do, man. This was brutal. Cars passing by, bro. I got up to the top of that false summit, I turned to the right, and I'm like, there's more. Let's work, let's get it. Like, I'm trying to push through. I'm trying to see what my limits are at this point. Big old bus, bro. That cycling stuff is real. There's a lot of dangers, and I know there's a lot of people that like hate cyclists. I really try to stay out the way. But in a race as big as this, you have the ability to treat your bike like a vehicle. So that means like you're riding in the street, we stop at the stoplights just like any other car would. I had the courtesy and manners of like obviously riding off to the shoulder so they could pass me in the same lane without, you know, making too much of a fuss in traffic. But I know some people could care less and are like, a bike is technically a vehicle. You ride on the street, it's your prerogative. I'm just trying not to die out here, you know. Mind you, all of this is uphill. This is a steep uphill. If I were to rest my bike or like turn it to where I'm not balanced, I would roll down the hill. You can't tell because of how the camera's positioned. This is the steepest hill I've ever ridden in my entire life. And like I said, my training consisted of hills on purpose for this route. I'd never been in Seattle, Washington before. I'd never been to Portland, Oregon before. Never been anywhere in between these states. So all of this was new. just a false summit. Are we there yet? We've been riding this hill for a few minutes now. This is all uphill. It's important to note the spirit of human endurance. I know there's some people that flew over this hill as if it was nothing. Probably didn't even switch gears. Well, I know there's people that didn't switch gears. There were bikes that did not have the ability to switch gears. I switched gears because I hate myself, but not that much. So I think this place, this stoplight here, I chose to take a break even though the light turned green. I was like, F it, bro. I'm tired. Like, I need it.
We can take a break.
Yeah, I was like, I'm taking a break. Normally, you treat your bike like a vehicle. Green light means go. I needed it, bro. I needed to catch that breath. I'm sure I got me some water there. So, speaking of water, I had a place for water that was in front of me, and I believe I had 2 pouches on the back of me that were hanging on either side of my tire with this bike bag that Jaden suggested I get. Shout out Jaden for suggesting the bike bag. If I shout out him anything for this video, I'm not shouting him out for the tent. We'll get there. I'm not shouting him out for the lack of drop bags. We'll get there. But that bike bag was helpful. I had enough storage for water bottles, and that was great. And the long stretches where we are really tired, and I was like, oh, we are so cooked. I would drink past that first one. I drink it in my second one. I'm like, okay, this third one, this last water bottle, if I get under half, I'm going to contemplate calling help from STP Rider Support because, like, I know, you know, it's hot. I need the hydration. Like, it's the middle of summer this race takes. I'm not trying to die out here. Luckily, it never got to that point. Like, every time that I got to my emergency water bottle, salvation would be there in the form of a rest stop. So shout out the rest stops, man. But yeah, after we conquered that big hill, we just kept it pushing on to the next rest stop. Okay, so at this part in the race, I become pretty mentally focused. I got into like a bit of a groove, and I remember meeting and passing some other riders. Some people were going faster than I was when I met up with them. Some people were going slower. Some people stayed with me for a little bit, but then they dropped back or they pulled forward. However it worked. A lot of people, you'd be surprised, did not have the navigation app, which to me was scary because if you miss a symbol on the ground, you keep going straight. You could essentially go for like miles. Like one straightaway would be like 3 miles, and then the other one would be like go straight for, you know, half a block, then turn right, then turn left. And like imagine just missing the turn. You're like, oh well, I'll come up to a turn eventually, and the next thing you know, you're 30 miles off course. F that. There's too much risk in that. So I had the app as well as following the things on the ground, and it was always reassuring to like have the riders with you as well. Like you run to another rider, you're like, oh hey, what's up? Did I get off course a couple times? Yes, and I think specifically in one of these towns I did. No big deal. Yeah, let me know we're off course. Redirected us. And we were pedaling forward. I remember collaborating around this time. We collaborated with a couple of riders because we were like looking at the next rest stop closing time, and we're like, we're gonna have to haul it if we want to make it. Like we might not make it. So that was our sentiment, and I believe I stuck together with these people. We'll watch the next clip and find out. Yeah, so especially in this clip, I know that the group of riders I was riding with, we had met up at a stoplight and we were like, yo, this rest stop closes at this time. Are we gonna make it? Because if we don't, the next rest stop is like miles from there. We started hauling. You see we passed a couple of riders on the right. This is the point in time where I was like, in my head, I'm focused on the race, but I'm also thinking about like all the things that they told me about in the group chat. Some people were like, stay out of people's slipstream and like blah blah blah, like biker talk. I'm like, I have no idea what a slipstream is. Apparently that's whenever one biker's ahead of you and you'll get as close as you can as possible, just where your tires aren't touching, to where he breaks the air resistance for you, he or she, and you can just follow behind them with less effort. I kind of tried to do that, but like I was nervous and I didn't know who was comfortable with me like riding on their tail, especially because the people in the group chat were like, yo, you're new, you know, keep your distance. So I did most of that until I got like comfortable. I only did what I was comfortable with. I hadn't ridden with other riders before, so I wanted to stay respectful, and that we did. And I would like tag along with people who I like kind of vibe with until they were either A, going too fast, or like I felt like I needed to slow down or break away. I never really intruded with anyone because I didn't know any of these people prior to the race. When I was riding with Jaden, it's like obviously we came here together, so like we tried to stick together longer. But those people, I was like, when I like my social anxiety and like my being an introvert, I was like, let them slip away. Specifically remember that point in the race in which I was like, there's obviously some differences between me and the other riders, like us versus them. When I look at myself, I'm like, I've got the entire world on my bike, and these people are traveling as light as possible. They're pretty efficient with like mounting and dismounting. It's like a 3-second process for me to like get off of my bike and rest, and then by that time the light might change, rip, or by the time that like they're on and they're riding their bike, I have to get on and I'm like trying to balance it and blah blah blah. Like I'm just obviously not an elite cyclist, and that's fine. I was able to hold my own and keep up with them for the time being. Like I said, they pass me on the downhills almost every time. They're just more comfortable on their bikes. But on the uphill, I had to fight them endurance and running or something. I don't know. But that's just how it worked. Maybe I was an idiot and burning myself out on the uphill and they were just like, look at this guy. But hey, it worked for me and I got there. We got to the same destination point. On to the next. So at this point in the race, I remember vaguely, I was like, bro, okay, now these like subtle sorenesses and aches are turning into like straight up cramps where it felt like somebody was just squeezing my legs and like every time I would like stop or like move. So I caught a cramp in like my lower 2 abs. I guess train lower abs if you plan on doing something like this. I got cramps in like different parts of my legs. So obviously like the calves, the quads. Was it the hamstrings? Probably not the hamstrings because I'm a runner, and so I feel like those are probably trained up pretty well. Started becoming uncomfortable with like not having different bike handlebar options. So like I would, rest my hands and like twist my wrist a whole lot, and like even after the race, my wrists and hands were pretty shot, but like nothing debilitating. They healed up within a couple of days of me not doing this for my entire life. Back being sore, but it wasn't too tragic. I say that looking back, I'm sure in the moment I felt like, what did I get myself into? I'm going to die. But hey, I'm here to tell the tale. I lived to tell the story. Next clip. Alright y'all, it's time for an update. I don't think the camera's gonna stay. It's a bumpy road despite it being an actual bike path, like not a street road. I ain't seen Jaden in the last 60 miles. But we on the grind. We are nearly to the halfway point. My legs are still threatening to cramp. People were giving me first aid at the last rest stop. It was a mini rest stop, but thank God the people who were there were over performative because man, those cramps were bad. I don't know if I would have been able to get back on the bike if I didn't have all the stuff. Even then, it still took me like 6 minutes just to get back on and get going.
Started off slow. We're back in the groove now. It hurts like all get out. Man, it hurts. The soreness, and then of course everything that does hurts extremely. Probably should got a bike with drop bars because my wrists are hurting. My back hurts from the posture. Ooh, there's bugs tearing me up. Goodness gracious. But we gonna keep going in. And the sad part is we gotta do it all again tomorrow. And I don't think it's any easier. Actually, I think it might be easier because we ain't gonna have the big hill, they call it. That big hill was literally a mountain. It was insane. I've never climbed so much elevation. I thought it was gonna, I nearly blacked out. I nearly passed out. Slid down the mountain with all my stuff. But like, here we go, man. Whew. The scenery's all right at this point. You just have trees around me, rolling hills. There were some bikers. I passed them. There's some up ahead of me, but they seem to be going faster than me. So at this point, it's just rinse and repeat. Pedal, pedal, pedal. Now, we're camping overnight, like in a tent, camping, whenever we land. And I'm on my second portable charger. So once this thing dies, we living on borrowed time. Now, hopefully, the place that we're going to has like a store or something where I can start plugging in my electronics. If not, ultra cooked. All right. So update on that whenever we get there. Camera still has spare batteries, and we're still on the first battery of this camera, so I'm not too worried about that. But we pushing it, man. We are pushing the limit of our body. This hurts so bad.
So yeah, I was kind of hinting to that earlier. The rest stops, they offered a lot of aid in this form of like tablets that had like electrolytes in there, and like despite me carrying my own Gatorade, apparently that wasn't enough electrolytes to stop me from cramping. So they gave me like tons of electrolyte tablets and like electrolyte infused drinks and all kinds of stuff that I was able to like down. So on top of me being super hydrated and electrolyted out, like we were fighting the cramps all the way through. I remember they said in the Facebook group chat, and it spells to be so true now, is like over ingest, like whatever it is that you think you need, ingest it earlier. There's really no downside as it is in running. Like if you overeat before your race, then you're gonna be bogged down a lot slower and like have to like throw up or poop on the run. Luckily you're riding a bike, so I guess it's not the same sentiment. Obviously get the butt pads. I should have got that because my rear end hurt like all get out, but it was optional. I made it. I thought I might be bleeding down there, but I wasn't. We had the butt butter. It's like a cream. But yeah, other riders and like people at the aid station, they gave me as many like things as I could like essentially ingest at this next aid stop, and that seemed to get me going enough to pedal forward. Yeah. So at this point in time, you see that I kind of come up along a group of girls, and I wasn't really sure they're at this point because like aside from like the architecture and like the rolling hills and the mountain views and like all the stuff that the ride had to offer, this stretch of like 20 or so miles of like, it was off to the side of the street because you could hear and kind of see the cars through the trees. This like little bog bike trail, I hated it. I'm sorry, race organizers, but like this part sucked. I was like, fam, like I get it, it's a safe bike trail, so like I'm not at risk of getting hit by a car, but we got oak trees, bugs, rivers, and heat at home. Give me Seattle to Portland. Give me something interesting. And I get it, not every single mile can be jam-packed with like the scenery. Sometimes you gotta get there, sometimes you gotta add up to get the miles. I'm assuming that's essentially what this was, but like I was like, am I even in the right place, or have I gotten to like another bike route on another bike race at the same time in the same area? And I'm just like way off course. So I stick with these girls because I know that they're for sure STP. I think I either recognize them from another part of the race or I saw their bibs. I don't remember. But normally whenever you pass people, you go like on your left. And so you would like, you tell them that you're on their left and allow them to like slow down, have time to react, and then you pass them on the left, leaving enough room to like, you know, not stay on the left side because that's where faster people go. And then as you like get in front of them, obviously make sure you're not just like sideswiping anyone. Like no one wants to go down on a bike. You know how vicious a bike crash is? That's foreshadowing. Okay, so at this point in the race, you see like that group of ladies who I was tailing behind, they all pull off to the right and they start, you know, refueling, doing certain things, and I'm like, it's only my first day out here, so I'm like doing what they do. I'm like, you put your bike up to the side, I'm putting my bike up to the side, you filling up with water, I'm filling up with water, getting Gatorade, I'm getting Gatorade. I'm just like, what you know that I don't, how do you move that I don't? And we kind of vibing, but like at the same time, I don't want to be like this creepy old stalker dude who like follows people around the entire race. So like, I might let someone, depending on the rest stop, I'll let someone leave before or after me, depending on like how I'm feeling as well. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I understand it now. I got my groove. I know what I'm doing at the rest stop. I know what I'm doing in between. I know how to read this app better. You know, I had plenty of miles to get it together at this point. And so yeah, I think I let these ladies leave first, or did I leave before them? I don't know what I decided. We'll find out in the next clip. But yeah, I understand it now. Yes, this group, the group of geezers, and I'm surprised they didn't film at the rest stop. But there was a lot of chaos going on in my defense. I literally remember I pulled into like what was supposed to be one of the more significant rest stops, not like a mini rest stop or anything where it's just like a water hose on the side of a shed, but a significant rest stop where there's like sandwiches and food and blah, blah, blah. This is us gearing up before we go into the Air Force Base. Now the Air Force Base is significant in its own sense, and I'll get to that later, but I met up like this group of older people. They were confused on like if the place was gonna close before we got there, and I'm like, you know, I don't really know, but y'all seem to like, I think it was like their second year doing it. I was like, I'm gonna stick with y'all. So they end up going, and they're like, yeah, you can stick with us. Like, well, I'll choose to stick together that way. If they turn us away, we can all get turned away at the same time. No one's gonna be lost. We'll stick together and figure it out. And so I'm riding after them. These people pedaling fast as hell. I'm trying to keep up with it for as long as I can. I feel like Jaden. So I'm like, obviously I'm not gonna slow these people down. I'm not gonna say like, hey, slow down. So I just slowly but surely let them pull away. But I did keep up with them for a little bit. Okay, allow me to explain, because I guess I didn't get any clips from that rest stop. I forgot the rest stop that it was, but it appeared to be a school of some kind, and it's supposed to be one of the bigger ones. I believe I got like some of the last sandwiches. They literally like pulled them out of the gym. Mind you, Jaden's still behind me, so I'm like, dang, he ain't gonna give him nothing to eat. I'm trying to like pick up extra sandwich for him. They're like, we don't know if he even have any at all, and they get me one. I'm like, you know what, let me just not. So I eat my sandwich. I meet up with these people. They're like, we don't know if they're gonna let us in the Air Force Base, because somebody who was there at the rest stop said they're gonna close it down early. And we're looking at the app, and it's like, well, the app normally updates you. The navigation app updates you if a rest stop closes early. We didn't get that update, and it still says it's closing at the same time. And he's like, yeah, no, y'all need to take this side route on this highway because, you know, the Air Force Base is closing out early. So we go there, or we're about to leave, and on the way out, we ask another rider support guy from STP, and he's like, no, that's not true. If y'all book it, you might make it. And so that's essentially what we do. And of course, they're hauling butt, and I'm like, please, wait for me. I didn't actually say that. I would never slow them down. But we get there. Looking back, it's probably because their bikes were lighter, but like I said, I still got past on the downhill. Everybody's more comfortable on their bike than me on a downhill. I don't know what it is, I just don't feel comfortable. Maybe it's 'cause I'm scared of heights, it's the free fall, but like, I can only go so fast comfortably on a bike, bro. Like, imagine losing control going 45 miles an hour on nothing but a piece of metal and 2 wheels. I'm not that guy. I'm not your guy. Get somebody else to do it. Saw on the bridge, I was like, yes. I'm over here like Steve Harvey, like, yes. I found my people. Okay, so the old geezers who I thought were, I'm like sizing them up. I'm like, all right, these people are pretty old. I could take them, and they're freaking gone. They're nowhere to be found, dude. They probably hit the rest up an hour ago. I found my people, luckily, which you see that guy with like the super heavy backpack. He's probably carrying about a quarter as much. Okay, not a quarter, let's not exaggerate. Probably 75% of the weight that I'm carrying on the back of my bike. So like, obviously we've got similar paces. He probably trained for this as well, but he doesn't trust the drop back system. I didn't take any clips inside the military base, and the reason why was I was literally cramping so bad at that point in between like the last 2 clips that you saw, that like it was excruciating just for me to stay upright on the bike. I met up with like this lady who like, she was gonna help me. But because they had special rules inside the military base, because they were doing active training at the time, that you cannot stop inside the base. You have to ride all the way through. So one of the SDP rider support people came to like give me first aid and was like, there's literally nothing I can do. You got to make it out on your own, bro. And rode off in front of it. I'm like, bro, help me. Help me. I remember turning into the base, and like they had cars set up and stuff like that, and like all the cars are going in between. My feet aren't even on the pedals. I just got my legs outstretched because they're cramping so hard, and I'm just balancing the bike with my arms to keep it upright. And everyone's like, that guy is cooked. And I remember I ended up having to stop in the military base because I couldn't move. So I tucked off in some trees where I felt like they couldn't see me. They could obviously see me. This is the United States military of all people. Taking my electrolytes, stretching my legs. I don't know if I hopped off the bike, but I know I definitely dismounted. And then I finally got myself up to a place. Luckily, the girl who got the rider support kind of like diddle-daddled around in terms of for me to catch up, and we were able to talk it out and like ride for the rest of the way through. And I was such an idiot, bro. I was like, the reason why I cramped is because I did this right here, you see, and I do it, and of course I cramp up all over again. I dang near take us both out, but I didn't. So shout out her and shout out me and my balance skills, I guess. After this, we go into Centralia. Centralia is the halfway point. We've made it, right? Right? No. For some reason, they chose the longest, gruelingest road into Centralia ever. Like, I'm thinking we're in town, we're within city limits. I see the sign, I'm like, bro, we're there. No, just watch how long it took for us to get into Centralia. I think there's a sign that I just passed, so I turn it on because I'm thinking, like the halfway point, the arches, and like, you know, the cheering and like all the people. I'm thinking that that's like right around the corner. I'm behind backpack guy again, cause remember, these are my people. There's some people in front of us, some people behind us. We coolin', but we're hype. Like I remember we all paced up the pace because we thought we're at the halfway point at this point. And this is how long it took. I'm like sizing him up. Like every time you see me like creep out into the road like that, I usually size up riders to see like, can I pass this guy? And then I'm like, nah. It's never that deep, bro. flag on the right hand side. I'm like, oh, maybe this is it. It wasn't it. It was not it. I mean, obviously, I've never been to Seattle. I've never been to Portland. I had no idea what Centralia was or what it looked like. I'm assuming those were other bikers off to the right that we just passed. Cause like, you know, sometimes if you get a group of people, I'm like, you one of us? You with the gang? I think somebody told us, like, keep going, bro. You got people like waving down traffic for us and doing the various things. I'm like, oh, how helpful. See the symbol on the ground. We still haven't made it to the finish line. We saw the big sign, welcome to Centralia. We thought we were there, bro. I remember hooping and hollering like, bro, we made it. This is it. Look at this, bro. We're still going. That guy on the left with the tiny wheels, I'm sure that is more inefficient for some reason. This little water thing, I was afraid of the camera, but I decided to do it anyway because we were in rough shape. Some people have bigger wheels, some people have smaller wheels, some people have like the most interesting bike you've ever seen in your lives. So I was always impressed to see like different bikes that people had. And would you look at that? Finally, there is the archway, the halfway point to salvation. We'll see how I come in for a landing here.
Go.
And I am off the bike, dude. I am like, that's it. I was beat up, and so my immediate thing was like, bro, we made it. It's time to recover. I need to recover as much as possible between now and tomorrow so that I can somehow do this all over again. It took nearly, so I forgot how many hours it took Jaden. It took Jaden more than 2 hours to finally catch up. I waited about an hour before I called him of like eating those Cheez-Its, thank the Cheez-Its, charging all of my devices, my portable charger, my phone, my headphones. I think I used my headphones a little bit this day, but I tried to save my headphones. They're the same ones I use for running, but I tried to save them for like emergency needs, like whenever I need to get really pumped up. Yeah, I remember passing through the military base and like catching all those cramps. So I'm like, bro, I need to like revive myself. I need to bring myself back from the dead because I was dead, dog. So there at Centralia, it's like some kind of like college within like a town city thing, and they had lots of amenities. Luckily, like people were eating in the school cafeteria. There were a couple of restaurants around. For some reason, they were all closed by the time Jaden got there, and I don't think he got there that late, like maybe 7, 8. Everything was freaking closed, bro. The only thing that was open was like KFC. We went to like some local restaurant that was rumored to have good food. It was closed. You'll never believe it. Jaden, when he finally showed up, was like, bro, he was like, bro, we gotta go ride the bikes to go get something to eat. And I was like, what? He was like, I'm hungry. I was like, the last thing I want to see right now is that bike. That bike need to stay there until tomorrow, and I gotta do this stuff all over again, bro. Like, I'm not trying to get back on the bike. We got back on the bikes. We had to ride even more miles that day. I was so upset. Foreshadowing. So anyways, charge up myself. I'm waiting on Jaden. He finally comes through hours later. Look how much lower the sun is in the sky when Jaden pulls up.
You made it. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Spirits talk to me alone in the forest.
Congratulations. Congrats.
Things happened to me out there.
Congratulations.
There was not a soul.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I have been waiting for this guy for hours.
Brother man, when you called me earlier, some guy rolled by and he was like, "Oh, the next checkpoint is 1 mile away." And I was like, oh, and I got so excited. I started racing the bike, and then I looked at it, I was like, there's no people here. And then I checked the map, and it said 1 hour and 13 minutes away. And I was like,
Oh, you mean for Centralia?
yeah.
I mean, there was a checkpoint. Like whenever you described where you were, there was a checkpoint that was a mile away, but that was long shut down. They shut nothing down when I came through, and that was an hour before I called you.
Is there food around here?
Hmm?
Is there food around here?
I don't know yet. I just been sitting here in the hurt locker. I was in so much pain. There was also a place to charge $5 for showers. I don't know if it's A, still open, and B, where it is.
I'm not taking a shower. I'm just gonna get sweaty again tomorrow.
Huh?
I don't see the point of taking a shower. I'm just gonna get sweaty again tomorrow.
Because you don't want to start it sweaty. It's funny. He was the last person. Unless it's like someone behind you.
No. I am the last one. I am.
Loser.
I don't fucking understand. Apparently, literally everyone in the world can bike at 17,000 miles an hour, except for me. I don't know.
Why didn't you just do it? What happened to David Goggins mode? Stay hard.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Thought you were gonna carry the boats
Hold on,
and the logs.
What I did was agony, hell.
How was the big hill? Because I didn't see you go on the big hill. Cause I was
big
in
hill?
front of you.
Like the super big one.
Yeah, paleo.
I walked halfway up it, and then someone passed me and saw me walking, and then I got back on the bike and decided to bike the rest of the way up. And then
I
this
pedaled the whole thing.
this
and
frickin'
I nearly blacked out.
this old guy came up to me. I won't say anything mean about this old guy. He came up to me. He said, "It's all downhill from here." That was a lie.
Well, mentally downhill. It was a metaphor. I remember you was conflicted.
I didn't like his metaphor.
I remember you was conflicted.
Bruh, I literally went through everything, bruh. I went through all the things. I faced demons, spirits, all the things. I was out there alone. There wasn't even cars passing by. I was in the whole thing. I was literally silenced, except for
Did they reroute you, or did you get to go to the military base?
they sent me through this other thing. Several times I screamed out of pure agony. That's why I'm like, I don't understand. What the fuck was I supposed to do? Literally take a knife and just go through my legs. Like, I don't.
That's a notable reaction. I can't tell you how many times I exclaimed. I'm just pedaling and I'm just like.
I didn't stop. I kept going the whole time. I literally only stopped like 1 or 2 or 3 times because I literally felt nauseous, like I was gonna throw up. So I stopped for a second and was like, breath, water, food, get back on the bike, and I kept pedaling.
You know, a story with the tortoise and the hare. He's the tortoise and he still loses. Unless I like disintegrate.
No, because a lot of people who are here came here because they were picked up. There was a lot of people that I passed that were just sitting down that never passed me.
Yeah, they definitely were like, do you want to get a ride? And I was like, no, that is insane.
No, I didn't take no ride. I did the whole thing.
And I couldn't even like relax because this guy has the tent on his bike.
Yeah, dude. Food?
Yeah, I just don't know like who, what, when, where, or how.
Let me look up stores nearby.
And that was it. So that was our first half of SCP. That was day 1. I don't know if KFC is the only place that was open, but like it was the only place that we found on the GPS that was open. We went to we went to at least 2 other places closed. So we ended up eating KFC that night, and we had to bike to it, and then we had to bike back, and we got back home, and like literally everybody was already asleep because I had to wait on Jaden to be able to do anything. I remember charging on myself at the school, which was lucky. Dude, I was in so much pain, but we got to camp. So we set up the tent, and the tent wasn't even like a tent. Like everyone else had like a tent, 4 walls, unzipped. You know what a tent looks like. Jaden had a tarp. Had a tarp with the floor and like the back kind of wrapped over your head. It really was like a hammock that was on top of you, that like had like a pole to like stand itself up, but like there was no like other wall that closed. And we like laid in there, and kid you not, dog, it was a cold night. I love the cold, and I was able to survive. I packed the hoodie just in case, and I slipped that on, and I slept in there. Jaden got so cold he ended up going into the school, which was good for him. He got to charge his devices and stuff like that. But when I woke up, I was like, dog, where you at? I called him, and he was like, I'm in the school, I got too cold. And I was like, oh. Rip. But I woke up in the morning and somehow my body just like revived, and I was like, bro, we can do this. Like I felt 60-ish% sure that I could do it. I was still pretty nervous, but at least I wasn't like in as bad a shape I was last night. So hey, we did it. And yeah, apparently you can feel the second day of STP on nothing but KFC. I don't even like KFC. That was my first time having KFC in years. Shout out Centralia KFC, I guess. Without further ado, thank you for watching this half of the STP episode. If you want to see the other half, be sure to like, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the second upload. And that one, we're going to be talking about like the long road and the big bridge and all of the other things that come with the second half of STP. So stay tuned. Also, yeah, there's some more events that happen. Like in this first half, I got a flat tire. In the second half, I straight up crashed. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yep. Toot that, love the way you shoot that. Just got a head ditch, try and get a groove back. Touch it like an iPad, baby, I'm a true Mac. Real nigga coming through, everybody move back. Walk through the back door, they was like, who's that? 6'1", brown skin sagging in my new hat.